goal. What a beautiful goal, Johnny Doyle.
I think he's one of the few people who genuinely would probably have played for Celtic for nothing.
As if he just came from the terracing and his dream came true.
So I don't think there's players in the modern day game that's similar to Doyle.
There was a fan that came good and managed to play for the club.
A good man to have in your team is a wee battler, you know.
There was never a dull moment when Johnny was about.
I love the wee guy, a great wee character, you know.
Johnny Doyle would never have claimed to be the greatest footballer that ever wore the legendary number 7 shirt for Celtic, but few, if any, would dispute that any player wore his heart on his sleeve quite so openly. Jock Stein brought Johnny Doyle to his beloved Celtic Park from Ayr United in 1976, and in a Celtic career that saw him make 180 appearances and scoring 36 goals with 1 cap for Scotland. But his earlier years were spent in an area that produced several players who went on to star in the hoops.
Doyle was brought up View Park, same place as Jimmy Johnson, and he's very proud to wear the 7 that Jimmy wore. I was brought up about a mile away from them in Buckinghamshire, and I stayed next door to Doyle's cousin, so he was doing frequently visiting him, and I got to know him before I even signed for Celtic and whatever. But he was mad passionate Celtic supporter even then, you know, and he was playing for Ayr United at the time.
That's Graham towards Doyle going in. It might be no. It's gone over, in fact. Yes, the referee says the linesman indicated that Doyle had got the ball over.
Well, I first came across John when he was playing with Ayr United, and quite honestly, I thought he was a wee nuisance. Very competitive, but after the game, very nice to speak to. And then when I moved to Celtic Park, he was a teammate. He always had something to say, funny. And I always remember about John. John used to turn up to the Celtic games, and he's a first-team player, and he had a Celtic scarf rolled up under his arm. And so you knew where his allegiances lay.
Stanton, Doyle. Aiken, now Doyle beginning to wander into the middle. Aiken following up. Trying to find Wilson in towards Doyle with a great chance, he scored!
Doyle was as wholehearted as you would get. I mean, he just gave his lot for the club. You know, he signed for Ayr United. I remember I was just coming into the team as he signed. He was just a wholehearted, direct, wore his heart on his sleeve. That's Doyle. You know, he was a real character, a real buzz about the dressing room. You know, always had something to say, but a likeable rogue in a sense. And when he came here, he's obviously a big Celtic supporter. So the hive that he got from playing for Ayr United must have been doubled when he came here to actually play for his beloved club. And he played like a supporter. You know, people supporters say, if I could play for Celtic, I'd play for, I'd do anything for them. That's what Doyle was like, as if he just came from the terracing and his dream came true.
Whittaker. Doyle, who won the heading duel. Craig really on form, a touch to Doyle. Doyle scores number 3.
He was a terrific player. He had a big heart, a wee bit reminiscent of Jimmy Johnson, I think, about playing in the right wing position. Not as talented as Jimmy. Johnny had a tremendous burst of pace, and we used to play against him when he played with Ayr United. That's where he sort of made his name. Just electric from a standing still sprint. Used to get me a lot of penalties as well. He used to get into the box and he was good at that. But a good man to have in your team is a wee battler, you know.
On the field, he's a very determined character. I think that was something that was a kind of lifelong ambition and lifelong dream of his. And I think that it came to him, I think he was about 24 when Celtic signed him from Ayr United. So I was probably about 18, 19 when he first came here. I was just sort of breaking into the first team.
And he was a big influence on all the young players then. But only because we could look at him and see somebody that loved every minute of playing for Celtic and really appreciated, the people that supported the club and the traditions of the club and everything. And a real diehard.
Above all, Johnny Doyle was unique.
No one played like Doyle. He was one that just got his head down. He'd run at defenders. He'd batter through defenders. He was only about 5'4", 5'5", but he'd batter through defenders. He was as strong as an ox. But if he lost the ball, he'd chase back. He'd fight with big defenders, get the ball back, and go and put them under pressure again. He'd score a lot of important goals. So I don't think there's players in the modern day game that's similar to Doyle. He just was a old-fashioned type player and never gave up.
Craig trying to turn it in, and Fleming got there. Oh, Geegan! Doyle took it! 10 minutes. Johnny Doyle put Celtic ahead with the most simple of goals.
The prolific number 7 is renowned for scoring a few belters, but he will always be remembered for his part in an unforgettable match in 1979.
It was a kind of bittersweet one. Would be the time we 10 men won the league. We beat Rangers 4-2 in the last game of the season. Rangers only needed a draw, and we had to beat them. But unfortunately, Doyle, he was so hyped up about the game and everything. He lost his cool for a minute and he gets sent off.
McDonald's on the deck. Referee speaking to Conroy, and Doyle getting involved needlessly with Alex McDonald. He could be in trouble here. Referee Eddie Pringle going to have a word with the linesman, and Celtic could be handicapped. Johnny Doyle having his name taken by referee Eddie Pringle. And certainly the linesman made the decision for the referee. It looks as if Johnny Doyle will take no further part in this important championship decider. Celtic down to 10 men and trailing by 1 goal to 0.
And he was in the dressing room, obviously just crying his eyes out until he found out that we won and I'd scored. I remember him coming and cuddling and kissing me and saying thanks.
10-man Celtic trying to get back at Rangers. Aitken's been driving them through. Now here's a great chance on the left-hand side of the box. Colvin setting it up. Aitken again's made a great run into the middle. Roy Aitken there and scoring for Celtic, the equaliser. And it's Celtic 1, Rangers 1. 10-man Celtic still going. A chance here for Aitken. This hits it. McCluskey turns and scores for Celtic. Aitken missed, but McCluskey didn't. Rangers have the corner on the left-hand side. Cooper, Edelson rising, just getting the touch. Russell, and the shot finds the net. And it's 2 apiece with just 13 minutes left for play. Now McGrain pushing Celtic forward. The ball at the edge of the box. Smith there for Rangers. Aitken claims it. Celtic possession. Aitken going through. Chance for McCluskey. McCluskey going round the outside of 2 defenders. McCloy makes the save, but Jackson diverts it into his own net. Disaster for Rangers. Celtic tails up, going for it now, right in the final minute. McLeod shoots and scores a sensational goal. It's all over. Celtic have won the championship. A magnificent strike from Murdo McLeod. 10-man Celtic are the champions. An astonishing game at Celtic Park. Coming off the ropes not once, not twice, but 3 times to win the championship. Unbelievable scenes amongst the Celtic players. The 10 men have won the championship after being down, seemingly out.
I think he's one of the few people who genuinely would probably have played for Celtic for nothing. He just loved pulling on the jersey. Not only a terrific player and a great teammate, but a real Celtic supporter.
His name was synonymous with football fans, and of course he was a great... he had the Johnny Doyle Celtic Supporters Clubs. They then became McConnell's up the road here. So the Johnny Doyle Celtic Supporters Club, of course, the fans must have loved him there because they had his name. So overall, the overall picture and overview of Johnny Doyle, it was well loved that fans wanted to have his name on their supporters bus.
And he was the type of guy where you would say to him during the week that you were maybe going to a supporters function in Aberdeen, and he would say, "I'll come with you." He would say, it's a while since I've seen them up there, and he would give up his Saturday night to come up to Aberdeen and spend a lot of time with the supporters. And I don't know how difficult it is now to get the modern day player to a supporters club, but Doyle was out there every Saturday night and loved it as well.
He's the kind of guy you could rely on the field and off the field. If he said he was going to a supporters do with you, he would go. I remember at that time, if one player was going to a supporters do, then 2 or 3 of us would go along with him. It was that kind of team that we're all in there together. And I remember one night Johnny Doyle wanted a TV, and Johnny Doyle and David Probin got on well, and they went up to a Celtic supporters do. I think it was up Royston Road, the Celtic Supporters Association up there, and David Probin came second, and Johnny Doyle came first, and David went up, and there was a big TV, and Johnny said, I think I'm getting the TV, and David Probin got the TV, and Johnny got a lovely big trophy, and he was raging the whole night. He wouldn't go. David said, that's some TV I've got, Johnny.
Undoubtedly a talent on the pitch, Johnny was also an entertainer on the sidelines.
Mad as a brush. Great guy to have about the dressing room. Great laughs with him. He used to exasperate Big Jock often, because Big Jock would maybe give a team talk, and then he would say, now, any questions? And of course, in those days you didn't ask any questions, but Doyle would maybe say, aye boss, and he'd just turn and see it was Doyle and just used to shake his head.
Doyle to take it. Shot one out in front, a chance for Edvaldson. McCullough out to Doyle, handball. And Doyle driving the ball in. Referee was in the way.
He could have stood there all day and tried that and not got it right again. So, and the referee sent him off.
Johnny Doyle being booked. Sensational and tragic end to the match. Jockstein out.
The inspiration has been noisy than he was, because he's always joking with people, shouting at people, and getting into trouble from the manager or managers for overstepping his mark. And he was over enthusiastic, if that's what I can say. But a great enthusiast, great shining light. It just exhumed energy on and off the park.
He was just a pest at times. He was just 100 mile an hour, as I said, and he would never. I remember going on pre-season trips with maybe 4 and 5 hours in a bus in Germany, going from one destination to another to play a game, and you're trying to get asleep, and Doyle would always be up annoying you, and he just never slept. I think he slept about 3 hours a night. And I think he's taking all the E-numbers and colourings that you tell your children not to take now. Doyle took them in abundance.
Such was his strength of character. His friends and teammates all have favourite moments to share.
He was an absolute raving lunatic. And I remember once I just no longer got my first car, and I was trying to get out the car park. Doyle being Doyle drove up and left me with very, very little room to go out. So he was trying to squeeze me and I was trying to get out. I ended up, he pushed the whole side of my door in. He just started laughing, just squeezed the hole, and I was obviously in a panic. It's my first car, that's my door all smashed in like that. But I made sure he paid for that, But absolute head case.
Fierce competitor. Just hated getting beat at anything. I always remember Gordon Smith, who was a good pal of mine, playing for Rangers at the time, and he and Doyle both lived in Kilmarnock. And I remember Gordon telling me that he was late for training one day, and he's battering up the motorway, the dual carriageway between Kilmarnock and Glasgow to get to training, and he passes Doyle. He's doing about 90 miles an hour, gives Doyle a wave, and he said about 5 minutes later Doyle goes past him doing about 110. So that was Doyle. He just hated not just getting beat by Rangers on the pitch, but anyway.
I remember, you know how you come along London Road to the lights before you turn. We were sitting at the end of London Road, and he was sitting in front of us in his car, and we were third behind, but there was a car in between, one of the players sitting there, and John got out the car. The lights were at stop. He got out of the car and walked back to, I can't remember who the middle car was, who was in the middle car, but Roy Baines and I were in the third one. We were going home to Edinburgh. And John sort of walked back as if he was going to say something to, I can't remember who it was. Instead of that, he put his hand in the window, took the keys out of the ignition, jumped in the car and drove away. Just this poor soul sitting in the traffic lights, just at the traffic lights, everybody started to toot, no car keys, and Doyle is away up the road.
In those days, I think it was Norman Hunter or one of the English tough defenders had a black book, and he had quite a few names of forwards that the next time he met he was going to just tick them off and sort them out. And Doyle, only been Doyle, come away with this black book. He had one as well. And sure enough, we thought it was a joke, but sure enough, he kept it in his jacket, and then would be playing a team, and he would say, right, that's so-and-so. He said, I'll sort him out here. And actually, he had this at Ayr United, and top of the list was myself, because I was playing directly against him a few seasons, and I actually got him sent off at Parkhead when he was playing with Ayr. And so I knew that he was. I was wondering how he would view taking, myself when he came to Celtic. But when he came to Celtic, he was as good as gold, and he just says, right, Andy, he says, that's you, I'm just going to scrub you off the top of the list. He says, Shane, I'm your teammate now,
We went to Carlisle one night to watch a game. One of the boys had been doing, I think it was Ronnie Glavin had left, who was a big pal of Johnny's, and he said to me, "What fancy going to Carlisle to see Carlisle playing?" I think it was Barnsley, because Ronnie went to Barnsley, and we went to Carlisle. So David Providence, I was there. So after the game, we went into I think it was a Wimpy or something like that on the motorway. And coming out, obviously, we're always full of fun and all that. At that time, I went onto the bonnet of his car and just sort of spread myself out. That Bampot just pressed it, was away about 60 miles an hour, and then just braked. I just went right off the car park, bounced the light, trousers all ripped, everything, knee all cut. Absolute head case, that guy.
Doyle always said he was the man, and when McGarvey signed, we wound McGarvey up to say that he was a man. So him and Doyle used to have a fight every day at training, and they used to have the headlock and see who could hold it the longest. As I said, Doyle was a strong wee man. He used to hold McGarvey for half an hour. McGarvey would fight back for half an hour. The two of them would come in dripping with sweat after training. They worked harder at their scrap than they did at the training park.
And he and Frank wrestled continually, and I remember Doyle having Frank in a headlock in Germany pre-season. Lasted about an hour. I think Frank was ever the same after that.
We were over in Germany once, and we were there on a 3-week tour, and after about 2 weeks he kept saying he was the man, and I carried him on, and I said, look, you're not the man anymore, I'm the man. And I said, you better be out here in an hour's time or I'm coming to get you. And the bus was due about in 5 minutes, and the last thing I wanted to say to him, look, I'm coming to get you. And the bus was an hour late, so I came walking along the corridor, and I said, I'm coming to get you. And he was at the back, and all the players were sitting down. I said, are you not out of here yet? He went, no. I said, Drill, I'm coming to get you. And next time we were wrestling for about half an hour. I didn't have to train for another 2 weeks after wrestling. It was such a... It actually had me in a lock, and I couldn't get out of this lock. And I said, that's it. I said, you can be the man. I said, I'm not interested.
To the utter devastation of fans and teammates alike, Johnny tragically lost his life in an accident at home on the 19th of October 1981. He was just 30 years old.
I was out in America at the time, and I was coming back to see my father. That time he was ill. I'd been back for about 2 weeks, and it was the night, I think it was a couple of nights before I was due to leave, and the news come on the television, and before anything was said, a caption of Johnny's face come up, and I just knew something tragic happened to him. I just had a bad feeling about it, but quite devastated by it, actually, because he was such a larger-in-life character. It affected everybody that really knew him.
Because it was a sad loss to football in general, and as I say, what a great character, not just for his football ability, he was a great character about the dressing room. He was good for the young boys as well coming into the team, because he was always had a word to say to them and always had a bit of a banter with the young boys, which is important. But it was a sad loss at the time, and a sad loss to both Celtic Football Club and to his family and to his friends.
I was sad when I heard it. I really was sad. I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it at all. For such a person who's such a bubbly personality, suddenly that was it. That was hard to take.
It was tragic. Apparently, I remember just sitting in my house one night, and John Clark, his wife Irene, phoned to our house and told us. Just devastated. Couldn't believe it. They all went to bed that night. We come into training the next day, we couldn't train, everybody was shocked. We just sat about, comforting each other, basically.
It was devastating because I was in the house that night, and David Providence phoned me, and he said, Frank, he said, Johnny's been electrocuted, he's dead. And I said to him, I said, he's not dead, David, he's only electrocuted, it's okay, you can live after. He said, no, he's dead. And I just sat back, and it takes a lot to blow me away, and I sat back, and I just put the phone down, and went into training the next day, and he was such a infectious character in the dressing room. It was such a big loss to us all.
John Clark phoned me at about 8 or 9 o'clock at night and to tell me what had happened, and it never really sunk in. And I phoned Mike Conroy, who lived near me at that time, and we both jumped in the car and drove straight to Kilmarnock. And it was only when I arrived at the house, and I remember the horrible sight of a policeman standing at the door with Doyle's training shoes in his hand, and that's when we realised that, you know, what's happened. And the next few days were terrible. Just trying to come to terms with the whole thing, you know.
And Davey phoned to tell me, and obviously where I stayed in Newton Mearns is only 15 minutes from Kilmarnock, and I can remember driving down the road thinking, oh please God, don't let that be right, but knowing that it was right, because Davey would never have phoned me. So, and I remember the most horrible feeling just turning into the street at that time and having seen the ambulances and the police and everything like that about there, and that's when it suddenly hits you, you know. That was a dreadful time.
For us to lose a friend whom you played with, and obviously these memories keep coming back when you've heard that he's died. But obviously your mind goes to the family.
Every now and again, we still, the ex-players that played with Doyle at that time, we still reminisce, go down memory lane, talk about some of the great trips we had abroad with Doyle, some great wind-ups with him, and just what happened in training as well. And as I say, it's a big part of the team left the day Doyle died, and it took a long time for the players to go over it.
Oh, miss him madly, still miss him, still think about him, back for it. As I say, it was a pest at the time, but you loved him a bit.
I was in Bar 67 in the Gallagate last night. The guys asked me, they've got a fantastic mural, or murial as Gary Pendry says, a fantastic mural up on the wall. The brother Walfred and Celtic players past and present, and obviously over in the corner there's a great one of Johnny Doyle with his arms folded, and he would love that. He would love to know that he's been remembered well, and he'll be forever in the history of the football club, you know.
I've travelled around these islands, from shore to shining shore. I met so many heroes from the team that I adore. I followed Glasgow Celtic from Lisbon to Aberdeen, but I always remember Johnny Doyle in the green. He came from United to join his favourite team, to play for Glasgow Celtic, would fulfill his dream. Around about St. Patrick's Day, signed by Big Jock Stein, played only for the jersey, Johnny Doyle in the green. And Johnny Doyle told me, not long before he died, he says, I love my Glasgow Celtic because I'm just a Celtic boy. In Europe 1980, we all know what Johnny did. He kept a great performance against Real Madrid. He rose with two defenders to win the ball so clean. With Sabido and Camacho was John Doyle in the green. And Johnny Doyle told me, not long before he died, he says, I love my Celtic because I'm just a Celtic boy. So when your prayers remember a gallant Celtic son, his young life cut so cruelly in 1981, the 19th of October comes a grey and rainy day, and then I heard John Doyle had sadly passed away. And Johnny Doyle told me not long before he died, he says, I love my Glasgow Celtic because I'm just a Celtic boy. He says, I love my Glasgow Celtic because I'm just a Celtic boy.